We're back. This is the 30-day morning person challenge, day 3. And today I will teach you how to make your own legal drugs. All right, so some things don't work out the way you want them to in the beginning, then you just get back in and you do it right the next time. That's all there is to it. Done. All right, so now, for those of you who are just starting this thing, if you haven't done it yet, I want you to go to simpleology.com/morning30, morning 30. All right, it's a 30-day morning person challenge. What you will find there at simpleology.com, a little slash on there, write the word morning, then the number 3 and the number 0. You're going to find a blog post that's going to give you some instructions, and you are going to find a comic book that is going to teach you a little routine you can get into that will turn you into a morning person. There are a whole bunch of little tricks and hacks in there that are going to change your mind so that waking up in the morning gets easier and easier and easier. But here's the thing, in the beginning it's going to be hard. It's going to be very, very difficult in the beginning, all right? So you have to push through that difficulty period in the beginning. And I'm about to teach you a little technique that's going to make pushing through that early morning period a little bit easier, okay? Now, I want you guys to observe a phenomenon. If you go to a movie and you watch a movie, have you ever been emotionally moved? Now, some of you men are going to say, I don't cry at movies. Bullshit, liar. You know you have. I've done it. I'm not ashamed to say I have been emotionally moved by movies, by music, by observing things happening around me. I embrace that. That's okay. I don't wallow in it, but I embrace it. It is part of life. It's natural. It's good for you sometimes, as long as it doesn't become some kind of namby-pamby, weak thing that you do all the time. Nobody wants to be around that. Nobody wants to see you crying and weepy all the time. But from time to time, it's all right. It's all right. I give you permission. Okay, now, that's not my point. My point here is to observe the phenomenon. Some external stimulus created a hormonal, emotional cocktail inside your body that caused the tears to come down your face. This is not an exclusive phenomenon. It does not only happen just when you are watching movies. It happens all the time around you in different ways. Have people ever said things to you that have pissed you off? Have you ever felt that flush in your face? Do you know what that anger feels like? Do you know what joy feels like? Do you know what sexual gratification feels like? Do you know what any of these things feel like? Of course you do. These are common human phenomena. We experience them all the time. What that means is that things are causing us to experience drug-like effects. But here's what's really, really cool. We can hack into this. We can control this ourselves. So when you wake up in the morning and you feel tired and miserable, guess what? There are things you can do to make yourself not feel tired and miserable. Think about that, okay? Any emotional state that you need to feel, you can cause yourself to feel by changing the way you use your body, by changing the way you use your emotions, by changing the way you use your tonality. In Simpleology, we have this little model we call the TAFT loop, TAFT, thinking, acting, feeling, and talking. These are the primary ways that you affect your emotions. Okay, so it's not just passively by watching something, it's something that you can cause. Something you can cause. So if you wake up in the morning and you're feeling sluggish, if you wake up and you start acting like a Dothraki screamer, all right, you are going to feel a surge of adrenaline inside of you that is going to make you wake up. You have that ability, you have that power, you have that control. The problem is this is a muscle inside of you that is weak right now. You need to get in there and you need to start exercising that muscle of controlling your mental state. Now, guys, this is going to do a lot more for you than just being able to wake up early. All right, this has ripple effects throughout your entire life. Imagine being able to change your state such that you can be in the optimal frame of mind for writing, the optimal frame of mind for sleeping, the optimal frame of mind, the optimal emotional state, whatever it is, for anything that you want to accomplish. If you start to experiment with this stuff and play with it, you will find that you have way, way more control over these things than you think. And different emotional states are useful for different times in your life. You don't want to be all zenned out and blissed out all the time, because you need to stimulate your body. You need to challenge yourself. Sometimes being zenned out and blissed out is really good for you because it's going to help you recover. You need that. And there are all kinds of interesting things that can happen. If you enter meditative states, you can start to access states of consciousness that will allow you to, I think, I can't think of a better word for it, like download information from the universe. The books that I have written, a couple of which I wrote in one day, sometimes it felt like I was not writing. Something was writing me. What did I do? I put my mind into a state of consciousness that allowed that channel to be open. Now, this is going to get a little bit woo-woo and weird for some of you guys. You're going to say, well, that just sounds like a bunch of nonsense, right? What do you mean downloading information from the universe? Well, you're probably operating under the assumption that consciousness is a brain local phenomenon. I question that. Many people question that. All right, there are a lot of very serious scientists out there who will even go so far as to say is that there isn't really much evidence to show that consciousness exists in the brain. We see activity in the brain that correlates with certain things. We know that for a fact. But how do we know that consciousness as we know it actually rests inside of the brain? What we see is we see concurrent phenomena. That doesn't necessarily mean that the phenomena are causal. Doesn't necessarily mean that the phenomena are causal. Think about that. Just because you see something happening at the same time, it doesn't mean that the one thing is causing the other. This is why a lot of, one of the truisms of science is that correlation does not equal causation. All right? But one thing you can know is that you can cause yourself to feel certain things by acting as if you were feeling that particular feeling. Okay, so if you want to feel good, act like somebody who is feeling good. If you want to feel aggressive, which sometimes is a very useful thing, when Thomas and Engberts and I are out there jacking steel, pushing hard through our workouts, we do things to get our mind in that state where we can be aggressive, or we can channel that aggression into the workouts. And that means we're going to be able to work out harder than we would have been able to without channeling that energy. If I had walked into a workout and be like, hey man, yeah, I guess I'll do this workout. I guess this little bracelet is about all I can handle today. Yeah. No, man, that ain't it. I might walk into the gym feeling like that. I might walk into wherever I'm working out feeling like that. But I'm going to do something to change the way I feel. Some days it's harder than others. Some days you're really fatigued. But you can push yourself way further, way more intensely than you probably are aware right now. Most of us are tapping into a tiny fraction of this. I think I am tapping into only a tiny fraction of what I am capable of. I am constantly pushing myself to see how far I can take it. Some days are better than others. Some days I fall off the wagon and I see myself getting slothful. I catch that. I catch it and I turn myself around. I'm not perfect at these things. I don't think any of us are. I don't think this is a process that's ever going to end. And I think that's kind of the whole point. It's learning how to love that struggle. It's learning how to enjoy whatever it is that life throws at you, and to accept that even if it's a difficulty, even if it's a challenge, well, maybe that's a good thing, because maybe that challenge, maybe that tragedy, maybe that disaster is exactly what you needed to grow. There are a whole bunch of crappy things that happened to me in my life, and I look back on them now and I'm kind of grateful. I'm kind of grateful that they happened. I challenge you to do the same thing. Maybe society dealt you a bad hand. Maybe you experienced some terrible things. Maybe a loved one wronged you. Maybe someone you care about is a hater, all right? I got a couple people in my life that I love, but they're haters, man. They're haters. They're constantly trying to bring me down. I got to deal with that. I got to deal with it. Okay? I'm not going to cry about it. I'm not going to complain. Maybe I will, but if I do cry or I do complain, I'm going to catch myself. Why? Because crying and complaining ain't going to change the situation. It's not going to do anything to turn that situation around for me. You probably have all kinds of situations in your life where you're pointing your fingers at society, at the world, at the government, at certain people, at certain events, at your past, at the disadvantages that you had. And every time you do that, you are reinforcing that sense of helplessness. I question the people who are running around trying to make the world victims right now, saying these groups of people are victims and this group of people is not. Okay? Bullshit. Everybody has things that they can feel like a victim about. Every single person. I know some of the most successful people in the world, and I'll guarantee you every single one of them has got problems. All right? Some of them are dealing with it better than others, but they've all got problems. If you solve one problem, I promise you the universe is going to concoct a new problem to throw at you. This is the human condition, guys. This is the human condition. And when you embrace that, everything gets a little bit better, ironically. It gets a little bit better because you start to toughen yourself. You start to accept that, hey, wait a minute, maybe this is a fight. Maybe that's how I'm going to approach this thing every day. Maybe life is a war. Maybe life is a battle. And if I just embrace that, the suck is going to be all right. In fact, maybe I'm even going to seek out some suck. I've been talking about this for a little while now. Remember the notion of pay now or pay later. If you embrace the suck, if you seek the suck out, and you suck on your own terms, then maybe some worse suffering will be prevented. I think that's totally true in most cases. I challenge you to do that. How are you going to do that? By changing the way you perceive it, by changing the way you approach it with your mind. If I wake up in the morning and I've got the physiology and the tonality and the feeling and the vibe of somebody who is weak, I'm going to wake up there and I'm going to slap myself in the face and make myself get up and start feeling strong. I'm going to move like a strong person. I'm going to talk like a strong person. I'm going to act like a strong person. And what I'm doing right now, guys, I'm talking to myself. I've said this to you before. If you've been watching these things consistently, I'm talking to myself right now just as much as I am talking to you. I get benefit for myself by saying this to you. Maybe you'll get benefit, maybe you won't. The primary benefit is me reminding myself of who I need to be and what I need to become. If you want to follow along for the ride, that's cool. If you don't, that's cool too. It's all good. It's your choice. It's your life. I ain't going to tell you what to do. I'm going to tell you what works for me. And what has been working for me has been working out very well, relatively speaking. Certainly worked better than the alternatives I had experienced in the past. When I had wallowed in self-pity because of what I had gone through in my life, that did not work out so well for me. Nothing good ever came of that. Nobody came around to hand me a cookie and pat me on the head and tell me everything was going to be okay. All right? That ends when we're about 12. Even your parents probably get tired of doing that when you're 12. All right? We're all grown up boys and girls now. We got to pat ourselves on the head. We got to give ourselves the cookie. But the cookie that we need to give ourselves is not the same cookie that we used to get when we were kids. We don't need consolation. What we need is inner strength. And that is something we can draw from inside of ourselves. Simpleology.com/morning30. I challenge you to wake up early every morning and tap in to that inner strength. If you do it the way I'm talking about right now, I guarantee you your experience of it will be radically different. But the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to experience resistance. You're going to experience resistance. You're going to lie in bed and you're like, oh man, that sounds terrible. Do it anyway. Do it anyway. Get up and do it. Start moving around like you're strong. Start acting like you're strong. Start talking to yourself like you're strong. Now you're going to think people are going to judge you. Maybe there are people in your house who are going to say things about it. There probably are. Screw them. All right? You show them over time that your way is better. That's another thing you're going to have to fight through. Not just the resistance. You're also going to have to fight through the ridicule. It's going to happen. I guarantee it. You're going to experience that. Here's the thing. I'm going to tell you a little story about someone in my life. I'm not going to name this person. All right? This person I knew when I was I was a much younger man. I won't say at what phase. I don't want to tip my hand here and like indicate who this person is. This person ridiculed me a lot, made fun of me a lot for certain things that I did. Recently, this person has resurfaced in my life, had some challenges with obesity, and reached out and asked for my help. And you know what? I gladly gave it to him. I gladly gave it to him. In fact, I was happy to do it. I was happy to do it. I wasn't going to hold any grudge about what this person put me through because they were experiencing their own experience back then. You ever hear the expression, hurt people hurt people? That person was probably going through something difficult. That caused them to cause some difficulty in my life. I didn't know how to handle it at the time. I didn't know how to handle my mind. I didn't know how to navigate these things. I gritted my way through it bitterly. I resented it. Okay? But there's a certain amount of justice in this. When this person comes in and they come to me now, seeing that my way was better and that the ridicule was misplaced, I get a certain amount of satisfaction out of that. But I think I've kicked it up to another level. I could have sat there and said, oh, now, look at you now, right? Now you're asking me for advice when you were being a complete dick to me before. I could have done that. But I didn't. Why? We're all in this struggle together, guys, all of us. We're all struggling in the same fight. We're struggling in different ways, but we're all struggling through it. I harbor no resentment to that guy at all. In fact, I love the fact that dude has grown and he has come to me and asked for help. I think it's awesome. I have huge respect for him that he had the humility to come to me and ask me for that advice. I thought that was freaking awesome. That was awesome. Now, guys, I'm going to challenge you one last time. Simpleology.com/morning30. One last time today. I'm going to challenge you again tomorrow. You might be watching these videos thinking, maybe I should do this, maybe I shouldn't. Do it. Do it. Do it.